Another feature that we have in Windows 10 in conjunction with Windows Server 2012 or later, 2012 R2, excuse me, or later, is the feature of work folders. This was introduced with Windows 8.1 and 2012 R2. It's a means by which you can synchronize information with a folder on a server. Essentially developed to allow home users as well as office users to access their personal files regardless of their physical location and regardless of the device's domain membership. So the idea was that a home computer could be set up to synchronize with a work folder share, a personal laptop, a Surface Pro tablet, something that didn't belong to the domain and didn't necessarily even have to be on the LAN. The data is stored on a traditional file server, but it's then synchronized and cached on the local devices. If you're accessing from multiple devices, the data would be synchronized across all of them. And because it's on a file server running 2012 R2, you've got all kinds of file server features like discretionary or dynamic access control, auditing, and just general NTFS permissions, quotas, information rights management through ADRMS, which allows us to protect the documents and embed the protection in the document. So all of that could be used on this particular content. And we can have policies that implement security like encryption, as well as remote wipe capabilities. If the device needs to be removed from a connection because it was lost or stolen, we can secure that device using this feature. There are several different work folders components. The first is the file server. This is a file server that runs the file and storage services role. It does have an additional access protocol that's added because the way that this synchronization is going to work is via HTTPS. So it will have an installed SSL certificate like a normal web server would, and the synchronization is going to occur in an encrypted fashion. On that file server, we'll create a sync share. This is a unit of synchronization between the work folder server and the clients. You create one sync share, and then each individual will have their own personal folder created inside the sync share. So this is an individual access. The user is going to have exclusive access to their data and their subfolders, nobody else's data, all right? So this is different than SharePoint. This is different than OneDrive for Business. This is different from OneDrive because you can't share this data between users. That's not the purpose of it. The user device is the third component, and it's the device that's connected to the sync share. That device does need to trust the SSL certificate, and so for that reason, generally speaking, we'll use a public SSL certificate that matches the name of the file server, the name that the people are going to be using from the outside and inside to get to the file server. And the device will then synchronize with the server every 10 minutes by default, although that is configurable. So here are the steps to configuring work folders. The first thing would be to create a sync share on the server that has the work folders role service installed. That is just a wizard that we would use Server Manager in 2012 R2 in order to perform. Then second, we would deploy work folders to clients. Now you've got a couple of options here. You've got a manual deployment. In Control Panel, there's a work folders option. And when I click on that work folders option, if I'm a member of the domain, or I have a device that's joined to the workplace, then an email address is going to be used for auto discovery. All right, so basically it detects if you've got workplace join or you are logged into the domain, and then it just pulls your email address, does an auto discover, and finds the work folder server. If you're a work group member, then you would enter in the URL, or the individual would enter in the URL that they were given by support or by IT. Opt-in, we can have settings that are configured using domain-based group policy. We can also use Intune or Config Manager, and at that point, users can choose whether to connect or not. And then mandatory is the same as opt-in without the ability to modify the settings. Okay? At that point, mandatory just means that work folders are going to be automatically configured on the device. The user's not really even going to have a choice. And then the work folders are going to show up in File Explorer, and it'll be that synchronized personal share. It's almost like cloud storage, but it's storage on the file server. And then the other difference between this and cloud storage is it's just for that user. So let's take a look at the configuration of work folders. Again, most of this is actually on the server, and I don't think we'll go all the way through it because I don't have the SSL certificate and all of that. Just kind of want to give us the idea, and then we need to talk a little bit about OneDrive because I want to distinguish between these different features, okay? So what we would do is we would go in and add roles and features on a server. This would be done on the file server. Generally not your domain controller, but it's the only one I've got. Okay, we expand this and you're going to find work folders. If you don't see work folders, check your version. You're probably running 2012, not 2012 R2. Notice it said it was going to install the IIS hostable core. That's so that you can receive HTTPS connections. So it goes through and does that installation real quick. Once that's done, then you can use the file and storage services area in order to configure the sync share. So we can actually see over here a work folders area right now as this feature continues to install. So that'll be done in just a second. All right, so that is complete. Close that down. Okay, and so then now we can go to work folders and create a sync share. We'll hit next. It's going to be on this machine. We want to enter a local path for the share. Just call it sync share, actually. We're going to create it. Choose a folder naming format, user alias or alias at domain. If you got people and we've got identical names, you can sync to a subfolder. This is the name of the sync share. This is going to be who gets access. We add domain users into there. Okay, do we want to encrypt them? Do we want to automatically lock the screen? Yeah, we'll do those things. We'll go ahead and hit create and close. Okay, and so then you can go into the properties of this. Under sync access, it lists out, I just did domain users. We might add other groups as opposed to doing that. You get the device policies that are listed there. Okay. Now the other thing I would need to do is I would need to install the SSL certificate on this machine, and then we would go over to our other system, and we would configure this in Control Panel. Okay. Let's just go here, type in work folders. And so at this point, you would set up work folders, you would throw in your email address or enter a URL of the work folders URL, and it's going to make a connection, okay? And that's really all there is to it. As long as it's trusted certificate, then it will be fine. The user then will see it in File Explorer. It would show up here as listing as work folders. Okay, so the question then is, how is that different than OneDrive? Okay, and here on OneDrive I don't have anything, so let me flip back out to this machine. Okay, so how is that going to be different than OneDrive? Well, here's my OneDrive account, and this is my stuff, and so how is that different? Well, number one, it's different because in OneDrive I actually can right-click and say I want to share a OneDrive link. Okay. I can view it on OneDrive.com. I can see more sharing options, and it will go out to OneDrive, and then it will give me, a list of things that I can share. All right. Different permissions. I can give read versus write. OneDrive is cloud storage, and it's personal cloud storage, but it's cloud storage that can be easily shared. I can easily share with other people. So that's one big difference. Okay, you cannot share anything in a work folder. This is just an individual so that they can access their own personal files wherever they're at. OneDrive allows me to access my own personal files wherever I'm at, but also share them. Okay? Then the other difference, of course, is OneDrive is cloud-based storage, and the other is we're talking storage on a file server. Well, what about OneDrive for Business? Because that's also available. I don't have it installed on here. Well, that OneDrive for Business is a collaborative effort. OneDrive for Business is everybody being connected to cloud-based storage that others can see, and so it's for departmental type of stuff, documents that I want everybody to see, but that are stored in the cloud. So hopefully that clarifies, these are great features. They're all great features, but they all fit a particular scenario.